Okay. Cheers.
Do you want to cheers your
Wow, yeah, I'm totally secure.
Yeah, get in on that. Get in on that. Welcome to episode 20. Yes, we have a guest.
Our first male legend. You've got to feel so special with your hot pink gear.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Just happy to be here with you ladies. Yeah.
This is Pastor.
Truth be told, we went down the 5 female worship pastors and none of them would accept, and so here you are.
I'll talk to Lindsay later.
Yeah, exactly. We probably could have said, Mike, can you get us to Lindsay? Right? Maybe, but this is better. We're very happy about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, our husbands were very jealous. They didn't really quite understand why they were like, you've had all women legends. Why this? And I said, it's Michael Olson.
Wow.
So this is Michael Olson.
Your husbands are very nice men. I know them personally, so it's good.
They both said hello.
Yeah. They are. So.
Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, we're glad
I'm
that
honored
you're
to be
here.
here.
Yeah, we're glad that you're here. We're
Yeah.
glad that you're here.
I'm honored to be
So we're we need some help with Psalms.
I don't know
you
if
are
I can
our
offer
first
any. We'll get into it and see what transpires.
You are our first choice.
Yeah.
So backing up, we are in Psalms. We were kind of telling you being on air, we do a life session, a lesson session, and then a legend session. So we are in our 3rd conversation about Psalms.
Okay.
By the time you're sitting here.
Yep.
And I think Krista and I can both honestly say, we're not loving the Psalms right now.
That's funny.
And so
Yeah.
we need you to help us love the Psalms more. We talked a little bit about in the last one how it is part of the way God's wired us, that both her and I are very driven. So we lean towards passages of scripture and books in the Bible that are much more actionable. Like you can walk away and be like, I gotta go do this.
Yeah.
And the Psalms doesn't feel that way, and it requires us to lean into a little bit more of it's Psalms and it's poems. Never in all my life have I read a poem for the sake of reading a poem.
Sure.
That's just not where I would naturally go in the regular
in school,
life.
right.
Like
I
that
had
would have been
to.
yes.
Yeah.
Right, I had to. And I've never written a song.
Never written a poem. It's not what I do. I don't write a song. I'm not like strumming and writing songs. It's just not. Oh, right. Right.
Yeah. That's why you're here. Yes. You can handle us both and be the opposite of it.
But the beauty of it is that it's in the book. It's in the Bible. It's there for a reason.
Yep.
And so we're hoping you can help us embrace easier than what it's been, the Psalms and the beauty of
we're
the
going to
Psalms.
have some laughter about it when we get to the laughter session because we have,
the Lord has beat us over the head with the Psalms.
We are
has made it actionable.
Right. We have been like, come at my enemies, come at them very hard. So I think we are, as God has done throughout all of this, I think, is just help us go. But these are important.
Well, fascinating just to think about it, just for objectivity's sake. If you look at the biblical canon, you have the Torah. You've got all this historical books. You've got a chronology of the life. We actually know more about the life of David than we do any other biblical character. You've got some wisdom books, which are. This is in the middle of that, and then you've got the prophets, minor prophets, 400 years of nothing, and then you've got the Gospels, and then you have Acts, right? Beautiful, and then you have sort of these epistles, right? And then you've got this crazy poem at the end, which I would personally love. Maybe directly after the Psalms, you could just dive into the poetic nature of Revelation and just have out with it. But
I guess I struggle with that for the same reason.
For sure.
Wait,
bowls, trumpets,
right?
dragons?
Exactly.
What are we talking about?
Right, exactly.
But right in the middle of all of it, I mean, if anybody, regardless of how long you've been walking with the Lord, or if you're on this podcast since the first time you've been here, if you open the book and really just turn in the middle, chances are you're going to flip to a large section of the biblical canon that are prayers that are highly integrated with human experience. So this is a gift, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I said this early, and I know it's sort of a loaded statement, but I think a lot of times we we try to treat God like someone to be understood or grappled with, like a science project or a math problem. And ultimately, the Christian life is not something to necessarily understand, but something to participate with God in. And I think the Psalms leads us that way. So
it does. It definitely does. Well, and I will say, like, really early on in my faith walk, I had to write a psalm. And I took, what did I tell you I took?
Did it rhyme?
No. It was more like a journaling session.
Like a prayer.
It was Pastor Carmen at Beach Church, and I did like Discipleship 101, and she had us write a psalm, and I did not appreciate it.
Sure.
Like, I was just like, this just seems like a run-on sentence, and I was trying to make it something that I wasn't good at. But the more study of the Bible, and the more I've gotten to know the Bible, the more I've started to understand David and what's happening, and that they're like humans, and they have the same emotions that I do, and there's good days, bad days. I mean, I used to think like the Psalms are just psychotic, right?
Yes.
Like somebody's bipolar, and I've really sort of learned, I think, over my faith walk that, like, aren't we all, right? We have those feelings that are okay 1 minute and then okay not okay the second. And so it's really made me appreciate, I now know what David was going through when I read that. And that helps a lot. Yeah,
there's a large, I mean, again, like you guys were so gracious to share with me some of the reason why you guys are doing this podcast, right? And the Misfits, so great, kind of catered towards a group of women that have drive in the corporate workplace, but they're wearing all kinds of hats. They're just trying to figure it all out. Again, I think in those worlds, and I have some of that in me. I'm if you really talk to people about me, I got some real drive in me too, and overachievery kind of stuff. But again, we can start to quantify our value, our identity based on these things that we're achieving, and kind of in so doing, our sort of humanness gets sort of shrunk. It shrinks, and and even I'm not anti-emotional intelligence. I think we all are on the journey to understand how to navigate life. I think sometimes in the worlds that we live in, the demands and the pressures of it, whether that's in the corporate world or, family, talk about a complicated thing. And the conversations that you have in your own head with yourself, with the Lord, that go to all of these places. And sometimes we just don't allow ourselves the latitude to experience that in the presence of God, as if He, like, we're going to hide it from Him or something like that.
I think that I've learned such an appreciation for that. Like, it's not bad to say, I do not understand where we're going with this. Or, I thought you said to open this door, and yet this got slammed in my, it was, I just appreciate that so much more. I don't always go there, but I appreciate it so much more, that there is the ability to have emotions from one end of the spectrum to the other, and all of them God gave us.
I wonder if, as you guys are talking, I don't know your background, and I'd like you to, before we dive too much deeper into this, to give a little bit of your background. So I don't really know it to know if it, I grew up in a very conservative Baptist, hellfire and brimstone my entire life. I love it. It gave me the foundation. It gave, there's so many good things about that. But as you were talking about, you had said something about, letting God know all those inner parts. I grew up with a theology that was terrified of God. And really,
for sure.
And not that they said that, but I definitely grew up with you can't let God know those things, because then it'll ruin my testimony. If I was told once, I was told 7,000 times, you can't do that or say that, because it'll hurt your testimony to that person. And so growing up with this, again, amazing background as far as knowledge and God's word, and I knew it, But there was definitely a fear factor that I could never let down because A, I would disappoint God, and B, I would ruin my testimony. And in our church and in our little community, that was not allowed. So if you did something wrong, you hid it. If you were struggling with something, you hid it because you just grinned and bared it.
Well,
bared
ours,
it? Is that a word? Bared it?
I mean,
It is now.
Is it now? Bared it?
Ours was like work-based, like exactly that. Like we did
work.
not talk about like a failure. We did not talk about a challenge. We did not talk about a crazy emotion that we're feeling or a frustration that we're feeling. I mean, it was, you know, it was.
It's ironic that you are living under the fear of ruining your testimony when your testimony is about God's grace meeting you in your brokenness.
Right.
And then
And that's the very thing that you're
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, no doubt that's the grace awakening that we went through. I mean, our
Yeah.
generation experienced that from hellfire and brimstone to grace awakening, which I always say sometimes we probably swung too far this way because
We're all about
we're
grace.
so grace that there's no rules or regulations or right or wrongs. We're just gracing and loving everybody. So I'm sure there's a balance, but I wonder if my struggle with emotions with the Lord really stems from some of that. You just never talked about it. You never shared it. You never had doubts. You weren't allowed to talk about doubts because God is good and it's always God. And so, and again, I think their heart was, nobody intended for it to come out that way, but I don't feel comfortable even to this day expressing my difficulties with the Lord or challenges in my life. I am still from the, we're going to keep that in between me and the Lord, and Lord and I's got it, so we're good, and I'm going to put on that face. I mean,
that is true
it is
of
the
you.
struggle
That is
that
true
I
of you,
do.
yeah.
I still do that. I mean, it's,
Right.
I know it's
You
not
do.
right, but
No,
you
you
just
do that.
do
Yeah.
that.
And I feel like it's good for me to be here just to hear you guys hash it out.
No, but you're right. You're right. You do that. You do.
I'm so happy I could help.
But you do, I mean, that is the thing. You
it
do.
is.
You definitely do that. You know, like Rodney cries every single time worship music comes on.
Yeah. See, we don't cry.
Softy.
And I never
I knew
cry.
it about him.
He does cries every time. And, you know, like,
I don't cry.
like he just, and I'm like, it's so interesting. I'm like, that's the Holy Spirit working on you. And I'm like, why doesn't that happen to me? You know, but yet, you know, like I never would have dreamed of putting my hands in the air. Like in our church, it was like, what? Like we would never ever, and I do that. Like I'm so comfortable. Like I'm like I want to be up there dancing, right? So it does impact worship. It does impact us differently. But do you like? Like, do you share the happy?
When it comes, happy, I'm good. 4 to 1, right?
Okay.
I was raised on you can
4 to
share.
1.
So Sean
4 to
and I,
1.
Sean and I did a study years ago. They asked us to teach at a marriage conference, and we were struggling with what to teach outside of just the normal, you know, marriage stuff. And my husband, in all of his wisdom and geniusness, said, we should do a study. I don't even know what got us on it. How many words in the New Testament, we just took the New Testament, have a positive, optimistic feeling to them versus how many words have a negative, you know, death, defeat, sin versus rejoice, joy, victory. Like we just kind of took and we divided the New Testament up and we just counted like tallies. I mean, nothing deep and theological. And the reality was it was 4 positive to 1 negative. And so we've leaned into that so much as far as if we could live that out, that there are 4 of God's goodnesses for every one of the, but
like this is hard.
you know, this is tough. How much that would change society as a whole, because we tend to be very negative. The news is negative, you know. Even church and worship songs we lean into a lot. They're very much of like, oh, woe is me, life is bad, but God. Instead of, but God, and sometimes there's troubles. So we have always tried to spin it as for every, you know, 4 things, then we can complain. Do everything without complaining.
I think the Psalms is the perfect book for you on this journey.
We now have an accountability partner, which is what we were avoiding.
No, I really do.
Back to Proverbs.
I really do because I think, you know, it's a great exercise. I think that I think
Spit your coffee.
you might be treating the Bible like a math equation. Maybe.
You don't like the 4 to 1 ratio?
Yeah.
It's my new tattoo.
But a lot of these things, I mean, you know, in the biblical narrative, there are seasons of victory. There are seasons of rejoicing. A lot of times, and especially in the new covenant, like it's not, those things do not denote the absence of challenge. They are a frame of mind, not a frame of mind, they are a posture of faith in the midst of challenge.
Like where your heart is.
And I think, if we go to like any Amazon, we pull up some sort of like, we're going to look for books. We're going to go to Barnes and Noble or whatever. Man, the self-help sections are huge, right? And so that's what people want. They want quick answers, and it's the power of positive thinking and these kinds of things. When in actuality, I mean, it's not as if that's not a thing. But a lot of times it's like, I think what the Psalms does for us, and I also think this about Paul in the epistles and John. I'm a huge John guy, but like, it's not the absence of challenge. It's not the absence of these things. It's the presentness of God's faithfulness in the midst of them.
Agreed.
To give you joy that supersedes these things.
Agreed.
So this is Paul in prison, like.
Singing in prison.
Yeah, and it's not like he's not aware.
Right, it's not like he's
Like
doing
he's-
cartwells and
you know,
skipping
yeah.
around. Right, he is
There-
in a mess.
He's just like, he has a different scale. The way that he's seeing the world that he lives in is different because of the reality of the resurrection.
Agreed.
And it's just brought something different in him. I think
Well,
yeah.
Well, and
we did do that.
And
I mean,
I agree. It's not just rainbows and unicorns all the time. It is, I think, what we hope to get out of that is that even in the midst of trials and difficulties, if we focus on our joy of the Lord as our strength, it helps us get through those
For
trials
sure.
instead of sitting in our misery, which is where I feel like a lot of people sit for too long, right? I mean, even the Old Testament, we talk about this. The Lord says you get to mourn a loss for 30 days, then get up out of sackcloth and ashes and go. Like there is a time of, okay, I'm going to sit in this. But then there is but God.
Totally.
And God is so good, and there is strength in that joy that you've got to get beyond that, where I feel like we sit in it a little
But
bit
I
too
think
long.
we also, like, this is so good for you and for me, particularly in our personalities, in that it gives us the words. Like David, all the Psalms give us the words to be able to say, like, I really am okay with my circumstances, but I'm okay to say, Lord, I'm frustrated. I'm not trying to hide that. I'm not trying to hide my heart from you. Please help help me get everything else, and praise the Lord, right? And so,
have you ever known? I had a friend or a family member or whatever who has been through something pretty challenging, pretty difficult, and hasn't taken the time to process the thing that's actually going on, and then they get maybe a year or two, or and then another set of circumstances, and you're having a conversation with them, and you they actually maybe got themselves in more trouble later on because they weren't present with the thing that they needed to be present with in the moment, and they didn't want to look at it.
this is management.
Right.
I mean, seriously,
Right.
that's
Yep.
like the counseling and the management that we do is, okay, wait a second. You didn't, this takes us right back to the trauma you had with whatever, or we didn't deal with that conversation the last time, and here we are again having, and we didn't take the time to dwell in that moment. And I think that's what that gives us.
Fascinating that God, no one knows the name of God at this point. This is Exodus, or no, this is Genesis. No, where are we at? I'm totally telling
We're
myself.
a cup of Job right now.
Yeah, the point is, Moses is out in the wilderness. He is, on the flip side of killing the Egyptian. He is in the wilderness, many questions. He's in a place where he's been many times before. He confronts this burning bush, and God reveals himself to Moses for the first time. And the way that he reveals his name to Moses for the first time is not, I do that I do.
Right.
Or he says, I am who I am. There's never a time or a place where I'm not all there. And where I am, I'm always there. And I think that one of the big things about our life, this side of the fall, not to like head explode or anything like, but if you think about it, especially in the corporate world with drivers, we're constantly under the deadline. This is it. This is where we got to go. We're constantly looking towards the next thing. Either that, and we live in the tyranny of expectation. Some of us live in the tyranny of shame. We let the past drive us, right? We spend a tremendous amount of time living in the past, and God expresses himself to us as the one who lives and is constant with us in the eternal now. And I think the Psalms give us language to be with God in the fullness of who he is, with the honesty of where we are.
So I think between now and the end of the year, every day we're going to read a psalm.
You should.
It's 150 days. Look at her face.
I want to push back a little bit, but I want you to finish. Not
Yeah.
push back in a bad way.
No, but I think, you want to push back against him.
Not push back, that's the
Push.
wrong word. But
You want to...
Drive.
isn't there
Sorry.
isn't there a piece of scripture that teaches us, like, take the, and I'm trying to come up with a scripture really quick, maybe I'm just making this up, I don't know.
It's exciting for me.
It is. You're like, wait, I know what you're going to say, and I have a rebuttal to you. The idea of taking the focus off of ourselves, right, and serving others. And so in the midst of, we're talking about calamity or tragedy, or you're in the middle of something, which is a lot of the Psalms, woe is me, and in this place. And I feel like in the Christian world sometimes we invite the sit in the mess, sit in the get to know God piece, which is great. Be still, know that I'm God. I know there is a time and a place. Versus encouraging people to let's just get out and serve, and let's just
do something
productive. We say this as a mom with your kids. When your kids are sick, I use this all the time, right? And they're laying on the couch, they're miserable. If you can get them up and get them moving, they usually start feeling better.
Totally.
There is truth behind, let's not just sit in the yuck of it all, and let's get up and go and do. The Psalms to me feels like a lot of sitting in the yuck, and we're just going to regurgitate it, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to
so much
sit in it.
Yuck.
It's
like it gives you the word. But it's not. Sometimes it starts like that. That's because you Googled angry psalms. You didn't read. You didn't do the heavy ones.
I've been very angry.
David almost always pivots.
Right, there is a pivot.
It's always like,
for sure.
What is going on? Like, I can't believe this. My enemy did this, and but I will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think sometimes maybe in our drivenness,
right,
we maybe can not be comfortable. We're so progress oriented that we're not comfortable with allowing ourselves. And honestly, Jesus encapsulates it with, love your neighbor at how?
As yourself.
So I think we feel great about the ability to quantify our, righteousness or whatever before God with the things that we can do for other people. I think we're far less comfortable sitting with ourselves and asking ourselves questions about who we actually are. Sometimes this plays itself out in a massive crisis in the middle of life with some people that have just been going and going and going, and all of a sudden something shifts and they don't have the amount of self-awareness that they need to have, and so they make really, really crazy decisions, right? Like this
midlife crisis, right? That's where we get it.
And so I think there is a huge tie, I think, between knowledge of self and knowledge of God. And I honestly think that we just the Psalms pulls us in a place where we maybe have a tendency to be uncomfortable in asking ourselves hard questions about who we actually are and what we actually believe.
I think there is a male-female component too. Like, so for so many males that end up in that situation, I feel like it's because work defined them, right? They're so driven that work defined them, and all of a sudden they get to whatever, their midlife, and have a hard time dealing with like the feelings that Psalms brings up. I feel like as women, we've dealt with a lot of those emotions and feelings because we are interacting with our children, right, and daughters, and experiencing girl drama. Like, we've had to sort of.
I only have sons. So
okay, well, this is.
But they're complicated.
It's a whole different thing.
They're complicated.
I think they're harder than the girls.
Oh gosh. Yeah. But I do think like we've been forced as women to sort of deal with some of those emotions, and so I think it's much easier for us as females just because of the way the maternal piece of it and the ache we have when our kids are going through something that's different than the male going through, watching their kids go through something that does give us a way to process it. So I think you're better at it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm talking about, and yes, I'm driven and all that, but I see it as, and maybe it's just, again, it's all personalities. We can talk about right brain, left brain, Enneagram 8, whatever, all the stuff. I find the drive, for me, and this isn't everybody, the drive is, I literally believe, I feel it in my bones, which I know I don't do feelings well, but genuinely in my bones, I don't know how many minutes I have left, and people are dying and going to hell, and I can't stop. Like, there is a desperation in my work that is, I don't have time to sit and think about me, and somebody's gonna die and go to hell. Like, there is a drive for, I don't know how much time I have. And maybe that is, as you get older in life, you start to think, golly, like, this is going to come to an end quicker than I thought, and I haven't done enough. And for the kingdom, so there is a drive, but my drive is from, I don't want to see anybody perish. And so genuinely to sit in my own self-reflection sometimes, I panic that I should be doing more for the kingdom.
Yeah, I don't think the Psalms are self-reflection. I think the Psalms are wrestling with the totality of life in the presence of God. I don't get the Psalms as a cul-de-sac that terminates on self. I understand what you're saying. I think that's dangerous. I think the Psalms takes self, all of self, and brings it into the presence of God, acknowledging who God is in the midst of all of it, and God makes sense of it. And so I don't see the Psalms as like myopic. I see them as bringing the different aspects of life into communion with God. I'm reading a book right now, a brilliant book. One of my favorite authors, pastors, is a guy named Eugene Peterson. A lot of people know Eugene from The Message. He wrote several books that are great. I'm reading a book called Leap Over Wall right now, which is on the life of David, and it's great. And he talks about you remember the story of David when he brings the ark back into the temple, and it's a terrible thing happens. The high priest's sons they were instructed by the law to carry the ark a certain way, and instead of doing that, they adopted the technology of the time, and they put the ark on an ox cart, and they were bringing it, and they just thought efficiency. Drivers, you know what I mean?
Yes.
They weren't paying attention.
Yes, right.
They wanted progress.
Right.
Okay. So then what happens? So then the things, that it stumbles a little bit, and Uzzah is like, he is taken God's law for God's self, and he has skirted it for the sake of progress, and then he's so concerned about in the midst of the process of him trying to do all these good things for God, that he reaches out and he touches it, and he dies. Okay. Later, then David, he's so angry about this. David is questioning God like crazy. Like, how could he shuts the whole thing down for a long time? And then he brings it, they go at it again, and he brings it back, and David dances. And Uzzah dies, and David dances. Both around the ark. What's going on here? Well, to Uzzah, God was a project, something to be managed.
Yeah, task.
You know what I mean? It had to do something. For David, it was the totality of all of his life experience that brought him to a place of being present with the reality of who God is that just forced something out of him. And he couldn't, in fact,
contain it.
His wife was upset.
Right, upset.
Right, she was,
how
embarrassing.
How dare you do this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like, listen, man, it
know
is
the
what it is.
Yeah.
This is it. And I think it's a great lesson.
Right.
So, I mean, have you ever tried to make God a project in your life to be understood? Have you ever read the Bible thinking that it's about facts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you ever done that? Or have you ever been so like kind of high and mighty over somebody that you look with despondency over these people? Or have you ever been in the position when you've been so overwhelmed with the reality of who God is that it brings you to a place of response?
Yeah. Like that I love. Like all you have to do is start with the worship music, and I'm like hands in the air. I want to dance, and I clean the house to it, and like I love that it can just get at your soul.
Yeah.
Right? I love that it can get at your soul. So I think for me, it's appreciating that is worship music. That I don't have to understand every word. Like some of the songs that we sing, I'm always like, what's the one about the perfume and the jealous of God song?
I should know this.
Perfume?
Yes,
You're talking about Jesus, we love you? Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus? No, I would make that assumption.
No, that's not it.
That's what the scripture I think
it's something I didn't understand for a long time, and anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Brings you to your knees when it's there.
But like, I didn't need to understand that to have that feeling in my soul that it was like, God is just so good, no matter what or where it is. And I don't know if it's the music that goes with it or what, I'm trying to learn the same appreciation for reading a psalm that it stirs that same thing. And it takes time, right? Because I have a tendency to read it like I would read James.
Yeah.
Period. And it's not. It has to be hummed.
Yeah, art in general does that to you.
Right.
Like, and I think it's interesting. Okay, so then we have, like, it's the same thing in Revelation. It's actually the same thing in Genesis. Like the creation account it's a poem. We tend to want to look at it as facts. Like this is black and white facts, especially the fundamentalist camp.
Right.
This is how we want to,
Right.
hellfire and brimstone. This is the way that you were raised.
Right. Yeah.
I think the Hebraic way of thinking about things probably is not so economic.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit more, there's a ton of imagery and a ton of, like often Joby, our pastor, he talks about Hebrew being like a language of pictures and images, right? And so art does that in general. I think that's what I love about it. I'm a dude, right? So, and I create art. So, I think there's a lot of guys out there. I can speak to that more than I can speak to women, or maybe this might translate. I have no idea, but I think there's a lot of people, let's just say, that culture, pressure, responsibility, which these are good things. I'm not for abdication of responsibility, especially as a father of three burgeoning teenagers. But I do think that some of this allows us to quantify our value based on certain things that, and we can just our acknowledgement of what life actually is narrows on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think what music does, what art does, what literature does, what poetry does, honestly, is it forces you to grapple with stuff in a different way.
Yeah.
And you realize that your life experience isn't necessarily just totally tantamount to the facts that you understand. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure I do.
You've been in a spot, whether it's in parenting or at work, like the management conundrum, where you're just like, what? This is crazy, you know? And it's beyond your understanding.
Yeah.
But it is your life.
Right.
And
for sure.
And God is with you in the middle of it.
Right.
Sure.
So.
Right. Yeah, I love that I'm learning that the worship part is connecting to all of that God's in the middle of it, right? Yeah. And because it's easy for me to listen to a sermon, I take notes, highlight this, and I'm like, okay, I got this, you know, where the worship part is just a true, like, where's your heart in the middle of it. And there's some days that I think I'm walking in there and I'm thinking, I'm not in the mood to be here.
You too?
Right? And you get there and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what would I, like, I cannot believe that I missed the Lord in the circumstances that I'm in. Yeah. So I think it's about the worship part of it, I guess, that I'm starting to appreciate more about Psalms, that we've been through this.
For the sake of an argument about the Psalms, I think that, you know,
we're not dissing the Psalms.
No, I want to speak to...
I'm trying to embrace them. Yeah. Well, and I think we were talking about this earlier before we were on. Phases of life, right? I grew up in the arts, which is crazy now. Like, I was in every play in high school. I started out college as a music major. I mean, like... Yeah. There was a part
happened to you?
And she sang.
I mean, I still play the piano. Like,
my kids would say, like, you should go back to singing. I should not.
No. I mean, and even Sean said that as we're switching to the St. Augustine. He's like, you should do worship again, because it was absolutely a part of my life. It still is. I mean, I still love worship. It's, you know, and I just Googled the Angry Psalms. So, I mean, I'll go to the Psalms when I need them, you know. There was a phase, though, in life, like, as I'm looking at my life and wondering why I'm struggling with this psalm so much right now. I had this very creative side of me growing up. Then we went through the non-creative side, where it's just your mom and your kids and you're working and you're doing life. Yeah. Then we had this little phase of our lives, I shouldn't say little, it was probably 5 or 6 years, where we went to an unbelievably Pentecostal church. You know, very Pentecostal. I mean, running down the aisles, flags, instruments, people falling over. I mean, and even at that point, I think because I had been this mother working, going back for a doctorate, like, there was just this schedule that I had to follow to survive. And we were at this Pentecostal church, and my husband was in his glory, because he definitely, you know, that is where he was in his sweet spot. And I remember coming home from church, I'll never forget this conversation. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just not comfortable there. And he looked at me, I'll never forget it, and he said, since when is church about you being comfortable? And I was like, ow.
Son of a gun.
Right? Like, ow. And I do think
love it
there
when
has
they use our spouses,
been just a phase of life where, you know, again, it's just businesses and work and the kids and life. And so I've lost the time, we were talking about this earlier, truthfully, to just be able to sit in the Lord, right?
So what if
that's hard now getting back to, because it's been 20 plus years of that.
You could have a Sabbath.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Now we do Sabbath, but we are so
you have a very methodical Sabbath. Right.
I mean, it is like,
people
I
have
work
done that.
6 and I'm off on the 7th, and don't anybody talk to me, because it, you know, and so
You've even methodicized. Is that
I have even made my Sabbath very much of and, you know, I know better. Also, part of it is just the phase of life. And now my kids are all gone. And so we've noticed this year, I've really sat in, I'm going to start bird watching. I tried.
Are you,
it didn't work.
When you do your Sabbath, do you do it with the Lord?
I do.
Okay, that's
It really is. I mean, I'm making it sound worse than what it is. I mean,
except for the gardening thing.
I tried the
because
gardening.
I think there's a lot of swearing.
I do, and I love definitely not
gardening
my
I'm not opposed to a well-placed cuss word at the right
Yeah,
I do.
It was
And my moments with the Lord are sweet, and I have learned to find them for me in the midst of it. So
You sound like a songwriter.
well, no, that's not.
You could write a song.
I could not write a song.
No, I think
Rhyme.
Sabbath is a beautiful way to think
It is
about
a-
it. You know, if you think about it, I talk about this with married couples a lot. You know, and maybe this would be a great thing to talk with your audience about, is that so you have 6 days of creation, you have the pinnacle of creation on the 6th, you have 7th, and again, Joey preaches this great. Like it's just, what do they do? Nothing. There's no shame. There's no guilt. There is only completely untainted understanding and connection with each other and with God. That's all there is.
Yeah.
And they just enjoy it.
Right.
In a garden.
In a garden.
You know.
Mine's-
Okay, so then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
You know. And not to tell the whole story, but okay, then what happens? So, eventually we talked about Moses a little bit. So he, the Passover thing happens and they get out. And all they wanted to do was go worship. That's all they wanted to do. And they had experienced 430 years
Of slavery.
of their identity in God being completely taken away from them because they were making bricks without straw for somebody else who was telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. So let's just equate this to the Misfits. Okay, I heard you talk, and I actually don't pretend to understand it. But from what I do understand, you're working, you're leading in a corporate sense. You are momming, you're wifing, and you feel, this is what I think you said to me earlier, that you're just constantly go to bed and you get up and you do it the next day. And in that grind, you can really start to lose the identity of daughterhood. You really can. Just like the Israelites, under the oppression of the Egyptians, just making stuff for other people all the time. And they completely forgot who they are. Okay, so then they get out. And then the 10 Commandments, and right in the middle, with one of the most words is, don't forget who you are. This is the Sabbath. The Sabbath is like, hey, for 430 years, you guys, you've completely become untethered with your identity in who I created you to be. Day 7 is it is way gone. The Sabbath is the fountainhead of that. It is like, let's go back to experiencing the totality of your personhood in the presence of God. And it's not just rest, for rest's sake. It's like wholeness,
right,
and honesty, and like reconciliation, and all these things. Like celebrating the beauty of who God is, and bringing it into the present moment, and reconnecting with the eternal nature of who you are. This is what God wants, and our life is not moving in the same direction of this.
Yeah.
So how do we do it? Like, how do we communicate? What do we say? I would just say, open to the middle and let it guide you.
Yeah.
In fact, I would also say, I love the worship songs we sing. I think they're awesome. I've written a bunch of them. Let's do this first. Let's let the words of the psalmist go, let's fall in love with those before we fall in love with gratitude or something like that. I love that too. But let's figure out where the psalmist is leading us and how he's guiding us, and then move out from there. And we might just come in contact with other dimensions of our personhood that we've honestly just kind of cut off for the sake of efficiency.
Right.
Yeah,
and the to-do list. But one of your goals was to play the piano.
I'm trying.
We're going back to that.
Back to my
So
goals.
that's good. That's
it's
good. And I think
It's easy.
Yeah.
we
Put
a
a timer on.
I had a video. We have
Yeah.
accountability here. So we're both doing things that are Sabbathing that make us have a connection to a gifting that God gave us that we haven't necessarily, that we sort of let go. right? That we sort of let pass. And it is really nice to be able to spend that time with the Lord and just sit in it, even if you're doing something like playing the piano, right? It's, you know, that's your gifting. So,
Yes.
So, yeah.
I know we're short on time, so
we are.
as we're getting there,
yes,
because I have so much more that I want to talk about. Do you think, which we may have to just cut this and do our laughter and just keep talking, but do you think it's easier for a certain personality? Like there's the right brain and the left brain we talked about, and so we were even talking about earlier, just going back to this is for work related, we're talking about work, how difficult it is sometimes to manage in a workplace the different personalities.
Right.
Somebody's very creative, somebody's very dramatic, somebody's very emotional, somebody's very cut and dry, and
somebody talks in metaphors.
How to navigate all of that. I think it would be interesting to get your perspective at some point on that. We'll have to bring you back if it's different, or if you come from the standpoint of everybody should walk in that. Everybody should be comfortable with the Psalms as a relationship.
I don't think you
with
can
Christ.
say. I don't think you. I mean, I'll give you my opinion, which is probably non-biblical, but like I don't think that you like. There's every single part of the Bible is different because we're all different. I mean, yes. You might gravitate towards something, I might gravitate towards something, you might gravitate towards something, but it doesn't mean that each isn't important. Like, and that it should challenge us in the things that we don't necessarily gravitate to, right? So I think back to what, you know, you were saying about like, it's hard to manage those people. Well, yeah, it is, but that doesn't mean we don't manage them.
Right.
And I think that that's true of when we read a book that we don't go to. That's what I love about our Misfits, is that it's forcing us to go someplace where I might not go alone, or I might not have insight on alone, because I'd rather read about David, or I'd, you know, go to James or whatever. So I think, I don't know that it's like, is that good or bad?
Can I not fully, and not me, I mean, not me, of course, but could somebody not fully embrace the Lord with a particular personality? For example, like if somebody is much more type A and they don't necessarily, as we're talking about the Psalms, embrace the Psalms with all the openness that maybe one would like.
Oh, I see.
Does that mean I can't fully embrace the Lord if I can't get to a place where I'm not walking in that emotional side of things, or that openness side of things, like, or is there a piece of just that's the way God created you?
I think that like you have to, like, there's a point in
Cry,
time where the Holy
Tammy, just
Spirit's going to
cry.
say, start sobbing over that,
Right.
and He's going to use whatever circumstance you have to say, like, I mean, it's all going to be new, right? I mean, I don't think we're all going to get it all right this side of heaven.
I think we're being conformed into the image of Christ.
Which
And
means you're never going to get it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times maybe part of that conformity is maybe, and again, I don't understand. I don't pretend to completely comprehend. I sometimes understand myself. You know what I mean?
And we'll ask your wife about it.
Yeah, right. But I think that part of that process of conformity into the image of Christ is discovering things about ourselves.
And being willing to.
Yeah. And I think that, I do think that that the you know, when we're looking at this book, a lot of times we just look at it like it's leather bound and it's, you know, it's this nice sort of red color, you know. But this is like thousands of years of human experience and a lot of arguing by church fathers about what should be in it and what shouldn't be in it and why. You talk about the book of James, you want to go into a fasting argument, talk about how the church fathers fought over whether the book of James should even be in there.
Right.
And then they agreed that they would.
Well, we just did that with Esther. I mean,
Yes,
how,
exactly.
You know, it's different in the Catholic Bible. They added stuff. And,
Right.
You know,
And
arguments over it.
to me, that's
Yeah.
part of the miracle of it. And so I think it doesn't, I don't become a skeptic of it. It increases my sense of reverence for the totality of how it came to be and what it is. And
I think God takes you where he needs to take you if you're open to being taken there, right? So I think that's part of why we're doing this, is that, you know, we're not any kind of expert. We're exploring just like everybody else is. I mean, that's why you have disciple group, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't get to talk about your story.
Yeah. Well,
How you got here. Can you give it to us in a snippet?
I mean, I was not.
I cannot.
No,
Way too much.
I mean, I was raised in a charismatic Pentecostal home, and there's a lot to that story. This is not a promotional thing at all, but right now, I don't know if you guys would want to read this or not. We'll have to see. But I signed a pub deal on a book.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
About the way that I was raised, and my dad was a brilliant man and very formational in my life, and had a really complicated story. I wrote a book called Daddy Set the Church on Fire, which actually happened. My dad burnt the church that I was raised in down with the organ that he played. Oh, nice. There's a little teaser for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But the book is about generational reconciliation.
Interesting.
And forgiveness.
Awesome.
And it's the story of kind of how I was raised, and I'm editing it right now.
Wow.
It'll be out in February.
Oh yeah,
It's
we
cool.
could proof it for you.
Congratulations.
If you would like the Misfits to write something to be part
I
of,
would be honored.
We would be more than happy to be on the back cover.
Mine will be bullet points.
If you like a short snippet, 3 words period.
I
3
can
words
100% tell you that there are no bullet points in this book.
period. We can organize it for you if you'd like.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, it's about my story. You know, I was raised in this charismatic Pentecostal church. It was awesome. Loved it. Super formational for me. Went to an Assemblies of God Bible school.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to North Central University in Minneapolis, Minnesota,
Okay.
and graduated with a music degree. And then I kind of had a chip on my shoulder about church ministry for a couple different reasons. We don't have time to get into that. But that's exactly where I ended up going. And I served at a church, sort of the mother church for our school for some years. And then I got kind of roped in the music industry. And my sort of worldview just went. When I worked with Michael Olson for 6 years on the road. Well, first, sorry, let me go back. I met Ashley. And we got married, and then we moved to Nashville, and I was involved in that industry for a while. And then Brody was born. Brody's 16 now, which is crazy. And I got off the road really to be a dad, and served at a huge church in Phoenix, Arizona. Very large church in Phoenix, Arizona for about 6 years. And then it's actually been 9 years, August 1st.
That you're here?
That I've been here.
Really?
We've lived here longer than we've lived anywhere else.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah.
But it feels like forever at the same time.
I know. Is that good
That's
or bad?
very
I don't
cool.
know.
No, that's very cool.
But it's been an honor to be, like 1122 is a very intriguing place.
Yeah.
Very interesting, and God, certainly, like, you couldn't look at it and say, like, God's not doing something profound there. So, over 9 years we've been investing in that, and now, we're raising kids. That's what we're doing, man. We're like in the throes of raising teenage boys.
Well, we can do that next time. We'll tell you.
Yeah.
We'll give you. We're old and wise.
Yeah. Seriously.
No, we're not.
My only stipulation is that Ashley would come on with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she'd probably wear the pink hat, the legend
Have
hat.
her be the legend. Too,
Yes,
so.
exactly.
She is a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, thank you for
being here.
enduring this and having
Yeah.
a conversation with us. We have another Psalms laughter. Is our last one. And
Yeah,
we'll wrap
I think
up
there's
the
some laughter that
Psalms
we'll have
conversation.
about Beth.
I think
Now
it'll
we have
be
some new challenges. I didn't write anything
interesting-
down, did you?
Interesting. No, but I've got lots of
We'll have
lots
to
of
go back and
research
listen.
thought now, and that's the researcher in me. I'm like, I got to go back and think.
Yeah.
But it's been good. Thank you
Yeah,
for coming and
that's great.
sharing.
Yeah,
and,
honored.
And
Yeah.
just opening up and telling us what your thoughts are about the Psalms. I think there's a lot of good in here. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We used to pray to close.
No,
But
once.
we prayed once, and we didn't know what to do because we're on video.
Right.
So
Did you
we
close
don't
your
pray
eyes?
anymore.
Pray at all times.
Yeah,
Pray without ceasing.
exactly.
You're praying right now.
Exactly. So we just
So we don't
just
close
sort
with
of
that
say
because we
cheers
plug, yeah.
and we say on to the next episode.
What a great way to end.